My head is spinning. It is so full of John Pryor's crap that I need to make sure that I filter through all the BS. How's it going, everyone? KJ here. I'm popping onto this live stream to discuss John Pryor's defense witnesses today. First, we had this fella, and I'm not going to go into names and all of that jazz because I'm an old country girl. He gets on the stand today, and he is not as articulate in his presentation. It was a lot like hearing someone say, well, there was 7 and then there was 4. And then after that, there was 83, there was 7, and then we went back there, and it was 4. It was line 7 at line 12. I mean, did this guy, did he think about, did him and John Pryor get together and decide how this was going to go? Because listen, let me tell you what, y'all, I'm from Tennessee, but I have college education. And by God, if I'd have been a damn juror, if I'd have been a juror sitting there listening to this technology guy talking about geofencing and GPS and his own little slideshow, hell, he didn't even know what the hell he was. I mean, y'all, this guy has a company that doesn't do work for any governments, local, state, or federal. He isn't like any. He doesn't have a company that's going to help out law enforcement. And what was extracted today out of his testimony, obviously I was a little thrown back, and John Pryor made sure to reiterate it, was that Chad Daybell, there was no evidence of Chad Daybell's phone in the location when Alex was on the property. And I thought to myself, well, wait a minute. So, Chad Daybell, let's just for sake of argument here, okay? Chad Daybell is off at BYU writing. He's writing his shitty ass books, right? He's off, or he's in the house. He's sitting on the shitter long enough for Alex Cox to come onto the back of his property and do all he did for 2 freaking hours. You know, Chad's sending a text message. He's sitting on the pot. Or he's at BYU and he just magically talks about burning limb debris and shooting a raccoon. And guess what? Just out of sheer coincidence, it happened to be that he buried that raccoon in the pet cemetery where, bless poor Tylee's remains were at. And that was the only thing the state could say. And all this time I've been thinking, well, you know, they got him within, there's no way, because he was there in that backyard within 11 minutes of Alex leaving to go to where, y'all? Alex worked up an appetite. He had to go to Del Taco after helping murder Tylee, chopping her up and burning her and putting her in a plastic green bucket, okay? So Chad just magically, and no juror in their freaking right mind is going to believe any of that shit, okay? So dude goes on the stand. The jurors must have been, I don't know, y'all. I really was trying to listen to try to understand within the first 10 or 15 minutes. And then, of course, the beautiful, lovely people on Krisha K. Easton's difficult research little comments started happening. Comments like, I can't do this, or please stop it, or whatever, because this guy was a freaking word salad. It was like, oh my God, I thought I was gonna die. And I was thinking, man, why should I even express to anyone at all that this is just aggravating the hell out of me, when it doesn't matter what I feel like. It only matters that this justice be done for these victims and these victims' family members. but I had to express it. And so I did. And the dude basically was letting the jurors know that there was no evidence in terms of GPS or geofencing that Chad Daybell was right where, Alex was and all this and that, right? So then, of course, this spilled over into, September 23rd and all this. It was the same thing. John Pryor got this guy to say that, Chad couldn't have been there. But y'all, we're talking at less than 15 minutes that Alex was on the property. Why? Somebody tell me. Why couldn't the state ask this guy on the stand? So, would it surprise you that you've already confirmed that Alex was there about 15 minutes on the 23rd? So, would it surprise you to know that there were roots that were cut on a tree and the grave was perfectly made and there was rocks and there was paneling? They didn't even bother to do that. But I guess maybe the state is thinking that maybe the jurors can understand that. And y'all, we still got rebuttal coming, and we'll go into that here in a minute. But now let's get to the Idaho State dude there that everybody's so gushing over, this DNA guy who helped with the Amanda Knox thing and all that. Y'all, the only thing that was shelled out in terms of Tammy's blood money was that this expert, this Pinky guy, was going to testify about the hairs. And he didn't even really testify about the DNA on the pickaxe. It was the state that brought that up. But John Pryor talked about these hairs, these short black hairs, and how the state of Idaho decided that they were going to test these hairs along with the blonde one that ended up being confirmed to be the hussies, right? And they only tested it with Lori, JJ, and Chad. So why not include Alex? Was there some kind of budgetary concern there? I mean, was it that the state left out Alex Cox in comparison on those short black hairs? Because what? Because if it wouldn't have been Alex, that really would have been reasonable doubt. It was some other hair besides Lori, Alex, and Chad, and the state of Idaho left it out of Alex because if they had done that and it came back somebody else, then that would have helped Chad immensely, and maybe I understand that. But I got to thinking, who the hell? I mean, obviously, y'all, these hairs could have come from anywhere, could have been transferred, could have been Alex, could have been David Warwick, could have been the freaky, spooky-ass men that were walking around in Chad Daybell's yard back in 2015 that David Warwick testified to that he can't remember their damn names. Who knows? But the bottom line is this DNA guy, he came out and said this, had no DNA from Chad Daybell. Well, folks, why couldn't the state come back and say, well, you've testified that Rob Wood here, I mean, Mr. just monotone as hell, church talking Rob Wood, he should have came back and he should have said, well, because there was no DNA evidence of Chad Daybell, does that mean he wasn't there or was involved? That's a simple question. Just because somebody's there and no DNA, could this DNA guy say, well, if the DNA is not there, then they weren't there? Give me a break. And the state should have asked that question. But they didn't. I think John Pryor tried to cover that by saying the DNA expert was saying something, lack of evidence doesn't mean there isn't evidence. But the state should have nailed that home. But guess what, y'all? They're prosecutors, they're attorneys, they have a law license. I ain't got shit like that. I just have my common sense, right? Ann Gibson says the hairs were from the raccoon. They seem to be everywhere. The raccoon did it, Ann Gibson. Julie Coe says they should have tested David Warwick, Melanie Gibb as well. Yes, Tina. It was a raccoon who was drinking peanut butter whiskey and sharing it along with, all the other raccoons that, Chad and Garth and all them put in the big compost pile. I bet it smelled like death back there already. I mean, for all we know, it could have been animal sacrifice for all we know. Hello, Daisy Shoeshine. Sherilyn Softner says he turned his stupid phone off, which is that's valid. That's valid. And really, ultimately, y'all, I know DNA is very important. It's very important in a criminal case, in a murder case, right? But how important is DNA evidence when there's a charge in Idaho of conspiracy to commit murder? They damn got the damn hussy on conspiracy to commit murder, which equals penalty-wise to first-degree murder of Tammy Daybell, and her ass was in Hawaii doing the damn luau. Sheila Forrest says, I know why Lori got rid of Bailey. Chad doesn't like dogs. Well, we've already all decided this, Sheila Forrest. If Chad Daybell don't like dogs, it don't make a damn bit of difference. The dogs don't like him. Dogs are good character. They can spot it a mile away. Hello, Julie Coe. Hi, Chris Arnett. Hi, True Court and Crime. Hello, Ashley Kane. Hello, Kathy Gregg. Hello, Leon Jordan. So are y'all's minds mush as much as it's mine? I was like, man, I don't know, man. I don't know if I should go on this live stream. These people have been saturated in this just as much as me all day long, but I just had to give my take on it. And now let's get to what I really want to talk about, right? And that is this, and I'm ready for the comments because OKJ's going to listen to you. Is Chad Daybell going to testify? They had a little meeting there. They cleared the courtroom. They're talking about it. It could just be because John Pryor hasn't rested his case yet. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they were trying to coordinate and all this and that without, they had the jurors there. So it can't be them discussing out loud witnesses because why would the jurors be, they could have excused the jurors and talked about it just them. They could have went into judges' chambers. Ashley Kane says DNA should have been on of the first things the DA should have brought up. RDNAC says they came back after the meeting. Well, what did they decide? Because the last I heard, they had said no more testimony today or anything like that we're going to get to be able to hear. Jewelbox News says no, he will not testify. Leah Jordan says Chad put his kids on the stand to talk for him. Good point. Ashley Kane says I heard only a little bit, but all I heard was the sound of the Charlie Brown teacher makes. Sounds a lot like Emma, huh? You know, when I did my little impression of Emma, someone pointed it out. They said, you should have sounded more robotic. And that's true. I am Emma Daybell Murray. I am an educator. Oh, dear gosh. I hope Chad does his monotone voice will give me a breakdown. Well, he could go on the stand because, y'all, and time again, when the case is so stacked against you, especially in a death penalty case, the defense will put the client on the stand to humanize them because, and just to do whatever, just a shot in the dark. It might happen. RDNAC says Hermosillo's being called back tomorrow for the state. And I said in Chris K. Easton's comments that I thought the rebuttal witnesses would be Agent Hart and Detective Ray Hermosillo. That's who I thought. But you got to understand something, y'all. A rebuttal, and maybe y'all do, but for those that don't, a rebuttal can only call witnesses that testify on things that John Pryor had in his case. It can't be just a regurgitation of the whole case. It has to be narrowly focused. That's what rebuttal's about. The state hears John Pryor's case, and then they get their witnesses according to what they want to do to rebut John Pryor. What did John Pryor, his defense say? Well, he had Chad's kids on there saying that Tammy was sick. So there's a possibility, along with Hermosillo and Agent Hart, that there'll be the medical examiner once again to drive home the fact that Emma and Garth and Joe Murray can say all they want, that Tammy was ill. They're going to re-emphasize that. And don't y'all find it interesting that Emma and Garth both never said one word about Tammy coughing. But Joe Murray did now, didn't he? Isn't that interesting? Wonder why Emma and Garth didn't say anything about coughing. Is it perhaps that when they went to the grand jury that they didn't say it then so they knew they couldn't bring it up then because the state would say, well, you didn't say anything about that in the grand jury, Emma or Garth. But obviously, if that holds true on that, Joe Murray did bring it up in the grand jury, and I believe that he was told to say that. Kath Hillam says, it's about Tammy telling her friend that Chad wanted her to up her insurance. Emma opened the door about Tammy's insurance. Well, that could be brought up. But I think the state in rebuttal are going to, they really can't do much about the DNA. Okay? All they can do about that in rebuttal is bring the witnesses or a witness to come on the stand to say, this activity was going on between Chad, Alex, and Lori at these pertinent times. Just to drive that home. Because ultimately the state's going to have to include in their closing, hey, Chad didn't have DNA evidence on anything having to do with JJ, but these phone calls and all the things that Agent Hart testified about, is JJ at zero yet? And Chad saying, yes, there's a perfectly orchestrated plan. That can be brought up again to rebut John Pryor. Yes, Ashley Kane, when you say my mind is still blown away from Emma and her husband. Well, I'll tell you, another thing I want to bring up now that you've reminded me of it, Ashley, is will John Pryor call Melanie Gibb to the stand? Or is he just hanging her out to dry just to be a damn asshole that he is, right? If he was going to call her to the stand, and that was going to be part of his case today, Nate Eaton would have said something like, I just saw Melanie Gibb in glasses in a disguise or something like that. But maybe John Pryor allotted the time for his two experts there, that technology guy and the DNA guy, thinking it would go longer than it did. And, the state, they were short and sweet on it as well. Yes, I heard about that, Ann Gibson. Joe Murray's brother is doing an interview with Lauren from Hidden True Crime. His name is Dawson, and he believes Chad is guilty. I think it will be interesting. Well, I'll tell you what, y'all need to let me know all about it. Julie Coe says John Pryor has no defense to help the slug. Ashley Kay says, I think Emma needs to be looked at more. Her husband does charity for the Underground Railroad, but he does not police to keep watch where 2 children were mutilated. Get out of here. Right, Ashley Kane. None of them. The jury understands now, y'all. Pure and simple, the jury understands Chad Daybell's family. They are law enforcement hating, anti-government people that suck the titty of government whenever it benefits them. they'll call 911. They'll call 911 and hope that the police will come and help them with this attempted shooting of Tammy. But they want to talk their shit and say that law enforcement was trying to force them to testify one way or the other. Give me a break. And Gibson, I agree. Chad's kids didn't do him any favors. Kath Hillam says Pryor was near resting his case. And the question really is, Kath, is why didn't he rest his case? Why were they going to have that little meeting afterwards? Is there another witness that John Pryor wants to call, i.e. Melanie Gibb or this Barthlick or somebody like that? I believe that this guy that he gushed over, the DNA guy, this Pinky guy from Idaho State there, who's done don't get me wrong, he's done a lot of great work. And he is really good and all that. But the bottom line is this DNA guy didn't really go out on a limb for Chad Daybell. He just confirmed what the state already knew, and that those little hairs didn't match Lori, Chad, or JJ. Well, Ashley Kane, when you say I love that we can all express how we see and hear things, honey, I've known you for what, 4 years? I've known a lot of y'all for 4 years. I've got my live streams on advanced settings now where it doesn't get promoted by YouTube, so that I can cut down on all the other flack and get focused in on people that actually do want to talk with me and educate me and help me, and me express myself and you express yourself. I'm telling you, it has been an honor, an absolute honor to be on Difficult Research when I can, moderating and helping and commenting on Cresh's channel. That's been really, really awesome for me to be able to be around all the wonderful people on there. The bottom line is that we want justice through understanding. All of us do. And I'm going to tell you what, that guy today, who was the GPS geofencing guy, who went over those records and stuff, they made some points, but they could be rebuffed easily, and will be by rebuttal with the state on Chad Daybell. Because, I mean, the phone, Chad did not have to have the phone in the backyard. All this time, I assumed, because I had read in the overt acts that he was within 4 or 5 feet of that area texting Tammy, but then they said in testimony that through the text messages you couldn't tell where someone was at. So it really kind of threw me for a loop. Oh, KJ don't have all the answers. And I just have to deal with whatever comes our way. The bottom line is this. That damn asshole is going down. He is going down. I have no doubt whatsoever. Too much evidence. John Pryor has given a robust defense, and he's made some points. But his points, even though they're important points, aren't as high and elevated, exalted, get it? As high and elevated as what the state's evidence is of Chad intertwined with Lori and Alex. You would have to believe as a juror that Chad just calls Alex and texts Alex and all of these things during these crucial times just coincidentally. TC says the bottom line is the children were right there. And that's a great point. But also, I brought out this point, being devil's advocate from time to time. Folks, Mr. Wayne and I have got a property here. And if somebody found a dead body on my property, does that mean that old KJ murdered somebody? It's got to be more than that. And we've got the more. The more is they wanted to get rid of the children for money. They wanted to get rid of Tammy for money. It's just as clear as crystal. And these jurors are not stupid. And there are no coincidences, right, TC? Yes, Casey Chambers, exactly. When you say I fell asleep during the GPS experts, folks, OKJ, when I love to learn things, I do. I love to take in new knowledge, but the way that this was all presented today, I thought when they said this GPS guy was going to do a slideshow, he really didn't do a slideshow. They took stuff out of the slideshow. Hell, it was the state that utilized pushing the button on the videos and things. John Pryor didn't even do that. By God, John Pryor forgot to admit his exhibits on his high dollar DNA expert. I mean, it's Judge Boyce had to make sure that John Pryor got those in, y'all. The bottom line is Judge Boyce is doing a great job. He's doing a great job. He does not want John Pryor to have anything to bitch and complain about. Hello, Lena Howery. TC says it was too open for a stranger to go there without someone knowing or being able to block someone walking up on them. Well, I'll tell you what, y'all. When I think about that, when I really think about it, you would have to believe that all of this was done to Tylee during the day. Y'all, I think common sense is telling me that somehow overnight, she was deposited over there at Chad's, like her body, and then that next day, they did what they did. I keep thinking about the ride back from Yellowstone. I keep thinking about how all that went down. Just because Alex's phone was at his apartment or at Lori's apartment doesn't mean that Alex was there. Both sites were visible from the windows of the house, the cozy cone. You wonder why John Pryor keeps hitting on these stairs in the cozy cone. Well, I can tell you this right now. When Chad Daybell is in the back of that police cruiser and Emma's there talking to him, he's saying you can move that mattress out of the cozy cone. That's where he was banging the hooker. Make no mistake, that wasn't Garth's place. That was Chad and Lori's little cozy cone of messing around and acting like freaking idiots. And Gibson says, I believe that Emma was following her father's beliefs and the lack of respect for law enforcement and the children found on her beloved father's land and total lack of love for her mother. Right? Yes, TC. And think of it like this. A juror's got to know this. They're listening to the evidence, but they've got to know, why is the state hitting on this so hard? Or why is the defense hitting on this so hard? They understand the importance of it. I'm sorry, Lisa. I'm just saying that something doesn't seem right about, I know Alex was there 2 hours, but folks, how long does it take to burn a body? Just like Cresha was talking about, how much fuel would you need? And don't you think it would take more than 2 hours to burn up a complete body? Y'all, we love Tylee and we hate what happened to her. But we've got to talk about these things in order to understand it fully. Yes, it would take way more heat and time to do what they did. Right, Ann Gibson. None of this stuff is coincidence. NF Mom says, I bet Garth and Emma will be looking for jobs for the next school year. Well, NF Mom, maybe Garth can get a job in another haunted house. Maybe Joe Murray can continue to work for Tim Ballard. Make sure Tim Ballard has plenty of money for his defense in these civil lawsuits. It is, Jenny. You know, I just can't see how it, I mean, other than, I mean, I'm just going to say this and then I'm going to leave this subject alone. The pieces, you know, after dismemberment, you know, it wouldn't be the whole body, it would be pieces and all of that. So that's the only thing I could think. So anyway, so in terms of John Pryor's defense, he had Chad's children. He even had this guy who was a law enforcement guy who worked for the DA's office. It was a short testimony where he talked about he had um, interviewed Melanie Gibb. And I know why John Pryor wanted this guy on the stand, because he wanted to bring home the fact that Melanie Gibb, in her direct examination, says she didn't 100% believe it, and she basically acted like she was distanced from it, and yet she's right there, and I believe that guy. I believe him when he says that Melanie Gibb, after the recorder was turned off, he asked her, well, can you tell whether I'm light or dark? And she started to rate him. Because, see, Melanie Gibb is into all of that crazy ass energy work. She's into all that rating stuff. Y'all, we have found out, and I believe it, y'all. I believe Chad and his wife and his kids, they all understood the rating system and all this and that. It's just Chad took it a step further. And he turned it on his own wife and other innocent victims. Y'all, it's my contention. I say this now, you can disagree all you want, that Chad's family, his wife, his kids, their extended family, and many in their community, I believe it, that follow the same stuff. They judge people. They rate people. And I'm going to tell you something right now. They ain't going to rate me. They want to try it. They want to come all down here to Tennessee and call me light or dark. They can kiss my ass. They can kiss it. Who are they to tell me I'm light or dark or anyone else? They can go to hell for all I care. How about that? Maybe Tammy knew and was becoming more and more depressed and scared. Well, TC, you got to look at the faculty members that work with Tammy, and maybe she held up a good front. But she seemed very happy. She was taking classes. Most people that are depressed, and folks, you're looking at the poster child. I've had chronic depression all my life. Do I want to go out here and join Zumba? I did a little while, tried to anyway with Andrew. Tried to take him in a dang Zumba class, hoping some girl would, he would find a girl in the class. Would I want to join a bunch of clogging and all this and that? Y'all, a depressed person doesn't do shit. They stay home, they isolate, and all that other stuff. Beach Lady's going to the beach tomorrow. Love you too, TC. Ann Gibson says, I feel so sad for Tammy's family. I'm praying so hard. And I think Tammy's family are good folk. But you don't see Chad Daybell's daddy in the courtroom, do you? Ashley says, we all are here for justice. We have all our different roads to get here, but we all support each other and crush. Exactly. When you say, Denise Gray, judge not or be judged, it's really judge not for, it basically means because however you judge, you're going to be judged the same way. Well, I can tell you this right now. I've made judgments on all these damn freaky, creepy-ass clowns. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm open to it. If anybody wants to judge me under those standards, they can go for it. Because these people, just like I've said before, if you go into a store and you see someone take something off the shelf and stick it in their pocket and steal it, is it judging them by calling them a thief? No, the judgment comes when the store owner busts their ass and they get hauled off for freaking shoplifting. And then they get tried or convicted or not convicted. Love you too, Valerie Moore. Keep your eye on the road. Well, TC, when you say I feel Chad treated Tammy like he treated his mother like property, I can tell you what. Chad Daybell and his kids there, along with Emma's husband Joe Murray, who mooches off of them, they ain't going to have the breadwinner Tammy there anymore. They ain't going to have Tammy there cooking their meals, being there to be supportive of them. Chad, he's got his hooker sitting in Arizona right now waiting to go on trial for that. And by the way, I've wondered about this. Why didn't the state bring out that video of the storage unit of Chad and Lori, with Chad going in there, putting his hand on her ass and everything else, showing just how really all of this was? And the only thing it was testified to in this trial of the things that were in the storage unit and all that, and the storage agreement of Lori Ryan and stuff like that. But they didn't bring out that video showing Chad actually there. And the only thing I can come up with is they're saving that bad boy for the Arizona trial. That's the only thing I can think. There's just several things, y'all, that I've got to go through. I got to go back through the Hussey's trial, along with everything in Chad's preliminary hearing, and I've got to say to myself, and I'm going to get it together, you just wait and see, okay? Jay's got purpose on it. I'm going to look and I'm going to see what the state left out that was pivotal, because I'm going to tell you what, y'all, John Pryor is just about to have his case closed, his defense closed, and then they're going to have rebuttal on whatever John Pryor presented in his defense. Then they're going to either have jury instructions first, then the closing arguments, or they'll have the closing arguments and jury instructions. Some places do it different. And I don't remember the way that Judge Boyce did it in the Hussey's trial. That's another thing I'm going to check on. Did they do instructions first, then closings, or did they do the closings and then instructions? And then off to deliberation. The bottom line is these are questions we're fixing to find out tomorrow. Is Melanie Gibb going to testify? Is John Pryor resting his case, or does he have another witness that he wants to call? Who are the rebuttal witnesses for the state? And I am assuming they're going to take Friday off and come back Monday for closing arguments and jury instructions. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. So they might do closings on Friday. Maybe they're going to go right on through it, and then the jury members get to, marinate, like Melanie Gibb, marinate in it over the weekend, and then they'll, have the closing arguments on Monday or what? I don't know. Beach Lady says, I think because the original video is far away and grainy, East Idaho News enhanced it and blew it up before they released it. I don't know if it could be altered in court. That's a good point. Didn't even think about that, Beach Lady. Good point. But even then, wouldn't that be for a jury member to decide whether that's Chad and Lori or Alex? Monday is a holiday. Okay. That's right. I forgot all about that. Thank you, NF Mom. TC says, I hope this trial has proven there are more conspirators that need to be indicted. It sounds like the cops are watching Emma and Joe and making them nervous. Well, I hope they do the rest of their life. Well, obviously, even if none of this would have happened, these kind of people that are so anti-law enforcement, so anti-government, let them live in their freaking paranoia. I mean, that's what they're taught, right? Isn't that what they're taught in their religion? Bleed the dragon? Isn't that what they're taught? It's sad. It's pathetic. Well, let me just be clear in Holy Scripture. Okay? Holy Bible. Not the Book of Mormon. Not Joseph Smith. We're talking about the Holy Bible that says there is no authority but that of God, and the powers that be are ordained of God, and you are to respect authority. And that's just cut and dry. And these people don't want to listen to it. Well, that's okay. If they don't want to listen to it, they don't want to believe that. They want to think the government and law enforcement's a bunch of dark canes. They'll call their ass when they need help, though, won't they? Hen Gibson says, what's the point in calling Melanie Gibb? She has no memory. Well, I'll tell you, if John Pryor called Melanie Gibb, which he's got her under subpoena, he could ask her again about the 7 gatherers. Because Zulema outed her on the stand. Melanie Gibb and Melanie Pulaski knew damn well who the 7 gatherers was. And yet they lied on the stand. They acted like they'd never heard that before. Give me a break. So, we're going to get through tomorrow. We're going to be there for Kresha and difficult research. I'm so proud of her. She's a rocket ship, y'all. She's going to shoot on through the stratosphere. I'm telling you, y'all, she's already met 10,000 subscribers. I'm so proud of her. Thanks to all of y'all. I love you all. I thank the world of you. Thank you for listening to me yap on. Y'all know there's nothing more important than getting justice for these victims and the victims' family members. Justice through understanding means so much. So, anyway, I love you all. We'll get back together if something else pops up, right? Okay, Jay, you never know when I'm going to pop in. I just want y'all to know I thank y'all for being here and spending your precious time with me. It means a lot. I love you. We'll see you tomorrow at Kresha K. Easton's Difficult Research. And keep on looking.